Number 16, Citizens Committee Unfunded Liability. That's presented by me. Where's my buddy? There he is right there. Phil. So we had a request or a comment. Phil has been well-known presence in our council meetings. His favorite subject in here anyway is the unfunded liability and the challenges that presents to our city and our community and our budget. And he made the suggestion and the request that we move forward and create a citizens advisory committee to participate and discuss the challenges associated with the unfunded liability that we face. I told him I'd bring it forward as an agenda item, and I'm doing exactly that. Phil, would you like to say anything?
Yes, I would. Thank you.
Thank you.
Philip Trainer, Yuba City. First of all, Mr. Mayor, I do appreciate what you've done. You're the first mayor in 14 years to have got to this point. And that's a fact.
That would qualify me for a certificate of appreciation.
I would think so, and I thought maybe I would kind of pass it out if you could. Yeah. I would have liked to have seen more people here to listen to what I have to say, but most people know what I'm going to say about the unfunded liability. You don't have a hope in hell of doing anything about it if you don't bring the citizens in on it. I think that maybe you could put Yuba City on the map if you would form a committee and let us figure out what to do. Because every other city have refused to do this type of thing. I've been in touch with people all over the state. Sometimes I kind of figure, well, I've hit my head against the wall, why do I do it anymore? And then I get up the next day and I get somewhat off, and I figure, well, I'll try it one more time. But fortunately, what I sent to you by the way of letter, it took me 3 hours to write that letter to you. I tore up more pieces of paper, but I based everything that I sent to you on what we did at the county, because the city duplicated exactly what the county did. Management were able to pull the big blanket over the public's eyes as far as the pensions went. Fortunately, the grand jury at that time, if you read through the article that I sent to you, really came up and said everything that I said had happened. It was just straight mathematics. It wasn't anything that was out of the ordinary. All I had to do is just add 1 and 1, and you could figure out it won't work. But nobody believed, because it wasn't worth a while to believe. But I would love to think, I would hope that you, as our leading citizens at this time of this city, come up and say, okay, let's figure out that we can do something. And I think you could, if you will just step up and say, well, okay, let's get a committee. Could be some from you, some from other people. Put a group and see what can be done. PERS is not who you can look to. You have to look at home. I really do appreciate what you've done. It gives me a little faith, a little more faith in what politicians can do if they want to. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Phil. I tell you, the best is yet to come, because this is just the beginning. Moving forward, the desire is, do we need a vote on that, or do we just discussing this?
Just discussing.
What we'd like to do, of course, Phil, I'm assuming you're going to be a member. Diana, or city manager, what's your preference moving forward on making this happen?
So if council decides to move forward with the subcommittee, the only thing that staff would request is that we don't convene the subcommittee, or at least start the meetings until after we get the updated actual report in August.
In August.
In August.
Okay.
And in the meantime, Robin notified me today that Dane Hutchings with the League of California Cities has prepared a full presentation that he provides to city councils related to the pension issue in California. So in the meantime, we could schedule to have him come up and present to council. And then in August, once we get the updated actuarial report, then we would recommend actually starting the meetings with the subcommittee and the Citizens Advisory Group, if that's the direction that council wanted to go.
Okay, very good. So as far as determining the the amount of members, the number of members, and the consistency of the members, we can go ahead and do all that ahead of time.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Does that have to be done here? Can we just sit down and here and now?
Go ahead.
This is only set for a discussion item tonight, not an action item, so it starts the ball rolling.
Right.
So you can say, hey, we're going to, at a future meeting, let's sit down and, appoint 2 people and figure out what they're going to be and come back with a recommendation for approval by the
All
council.
right. So that's okay. That's what I'm trying to discuss here is how we go with what our next step is. So okay, that's what we'll do. Here he comes.
Now that we've decided to bring in an outsider to tell you what to do, why don't, if you could form a committee before that and have him tell the committee what they should do. I don't think you have to wait till August 1st. I can give you more numbers than you can ever contemplate.
Right. We want the most contemporary numbers, though, Phil.
But you don't need me.
We want the most current and realistic numbers as related to our city. If you want to solve it worldwide, I hope you.
I think I could really,
Yeah.
but you know.
No, it's good, but I think that's a good point. Unfortunately, is waiting until August to meet. We're happy to ask you to compile any thoughts or ideas you have in that time, but we want to, moving forward, if we're going to make some actual decisions, we have to have the most current numbers to work
Mark,
from.
I will say this to you is that one of the people that you worked for, he and I used to talk, and the only thing he said you couldn't do, you couldn't produce time again. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I didn't bring my pillow. I'm ready to fall asleep.
Would you explain to me why you would delay creating a committee? You're going to have your report, but you need to establish a committee and get people that could really work on this and would volunteer to do it. So why wait until after the report is out to even establish a committee? That's just a recommendation.
Yeah, Elaine, I don't know. That was my question of our city attorney, is if we can go ahead and form it now. And the answer
I
was
think you
yes.
can.
And the answer was yes, and that's the intent.
Yeah, so Mike, to clarify my comment, it's not to delay forming the committee.
Right.
It's that we don't start having the meetings until after we have the updated actuarial report. We can go through because we'll have to bring this item back to council for them to discuss the formation of the subcommittee, the process for determining who's going to be on the Citizens Advisory Committee. So that's going to take some time. And also in the meantime, we would have the gentleman from the League of California Cities come up and present to council and the public just how did we get to this situation, just as an informational item.
Which is one of the issues that concerned me in listening to this. If you have a committee already willing to work on this, and you have this fellow come up, in fact, I'm really thinking taxpayers should get him to come up and talk, but have him come up and talk. You can't educate people who are not committed. They won't pay the attention. But if you establish a committee and they're committed, then they will really listen to him. But how many people from outside are actually going to come and hear that as a normal thing? Look how empty we are right now. So I firmly request that you set up a committee ahead of time so that they can start organizing together. And when you have that report, that's later. But we also know you're in debt now. And I'm a retired state employee, and it detests me what they did to this because they sneaked it behind everybody's back. And it's not right. Thank you.
Can I add something?
Sure.
Bob Renton, kicking the can down the road will not solve the problem. This has been going on for years, and the actuarial reports are always based on old numbers. CalPERS is like 6 months or a year lag. So what difference does it make? Let the committee get organized, get started, start reviewing, start figuring out what are the options, what might be done, and study the issue. And then when the actuarial reports come out, whatever you're happy with presenting to that committee, they can start chewing on it and possibly coming up with an answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
The other point that I'd like to make is that in requesting that we start the active meetings with the committee, delaying that until August, is that our finance director, who's going to be very integral to this process, is going through the budget process right now and preparing the budget and will not be completed until towards the end of July. So out of recognition of the amount of time that she has to dedicate to the budget, trying to be cognizant of the amount of hours that that takes to then understand the prep time that's going to take to prepare to participate in this committee. I just want to be cognizant of her time as well.
Absolutely. The desire is not to wait and kick the can down the road, but the timelines we have in front of us and everything else we have going on, that's what makes the most sense, the most time well spent. We have many years of this. We have a few more months. I'm not sure what the assumption is that a committee can do between now and August, particularly with numbers that are not necessarily current. But perhaps we can get the people together, and it's not my intention to delay forming the committee until then. We'll do that. But as far as any type of action, it's going to be based on input from staff and the numbers, with the most current numbers we have available to us. So that's pretty much what we're faced with. But we will form a committee before then. Yes, ma'am.
Pat Miller, Sutter County taxpayers. Thank you for that. But we already know that the city owes 70+ million in unfunded liability. And that's what needs to be addressed. We don't need the specific numbers. Furthermore, the CalPERS reports that will come out in August or September are a year old. They will be for June 30 of 2018. That's how they come out.
Right.
So
I guess I'm kind of I don't mind having people, we decide on the members and have them meet. If you guys want to meet, I'm not really sure what they're going to be able to do.
well, the committee can look at what CalPERS's rules are. They can look at, what's available in the city and what the city's rules are, and go from there. They can do a lot of educating themselves. Start studying, you bet. Anyway,
Yeah,
do the committee now.
Wouldn't hurt.
Get them started.
it wouldn't hurt. All right. Thank you very much. Anybody else have anything? Any member of the public have anything? All right. What we will do is we'll move forward with forming the committee. We'll get some details down. I think 5 members minimum would be appropriate. We'll get the word out to folks in the public who might be interested. I'd like to have at least one member of the council represented on the committee. And then we will, I have no problem meeting. I'm just at a loss for what we can do. Studying CalPERS policy, city policy is nothing we haven't already done. But if we put a fresh set of eyes on it, if you have the time to do that, that's absolutely fine. So that will be it. With that being said, Phil, did you have something?
Excuse me, I'd like to say one thing without going before the mic. Bear in mind, you are hiring PERS. PERS is working for you. That's the problem that they've all looked at. They've all gone to PERS, and PERS said, this is what you must do.
Yes, sir.
You're the employer.
I get it. I get it. And we're going to do the best we can to fix that.
To the mayor.
Normally, I wouldn't address you talking from the crowd, but it's getting late. Sir.
Thank you. A suggestion that I have is that when you do actually formally form the committee, you be able to identify the number of members it's have and the scope and its role,
Yes, for sure.
including exactly what that scope is and what assets are available to them in order to,
For
or
sure.
resources are available to
Absolutely.
them.
That was on my mind as well. We have to define it very clear. All right.